was just after sunrise in Tomball, Texas, on January 25, 2019. The neighborhood was still and quiet, as most families were just starting their day. But in the driveway of modest home, 29-year-old Liz Barraza was setting up for a garage sale. She had boxes of collectibles, clothes, and small items stacked neatly, ready to sell. What seemed like an ordinary morning quickly turned into a nightmare. A black pickup truck pulled onto the street. A mysterious figure stepped out. Just seconds later, Liz was gunned down in broad daylight, right in front of her home. The killer got back into the truck and drove away calmly, leaving Liz dying on her driveway. The most chilling part? The entire attack was caught on surveillance cameras. Yet, more than 4 years later, her murder remains unsolved. This is a haunting story of the murder of Liz Barraza and the search for her killer. To understand the weight of this tragedy, you have to know who Liz was. Liz was only 29 years old. She was described by friends and family as kind, compassionate, and full of life. She worked in marketing, was happily married to her husband, Sergio, and shared a deep passion for Star Wars fandom and charity work. She and Sergio were active members of the 501st Legion, a global group of Star Wars fans who create movie-accurate costumes and often appear at children's hospitals and charity events. Liz loved giving back to her community. She was the kind of person who made others feel welcome. The garage sale she was setting up that morning, it was to raise money for a trip. Just days later, she and Sergio were supposed to attend Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, a dream trip they had planned for months. Her murder wasn't just a crime. It was the brutal silencing of someone who radiated joy and kindness. The timeline of Liz's final moments is chillingly precise. Around 6:45 a.m., Liz stepped outside her home to begin setting up. Sergio had left earlier for work, leaving Liz alone in the driveway. Minutes later, surveillance cameras from nearby houses captured a black Nissan Frontier pickup truck driving slowly past her street. The truck circled once and then returned. At 6:53 a.m., the truck pulled up directly in front of Liz's home. A person, heavily disguised in what appeared to be dark clothing, stepped out. Their face was covered. Their walk seemed deliberate, almost too calm. Liz looked surprised. She said a few words to the figure, and then gunfire, for shots rang out. Liz collapsed. The suspect didn't run. They didn't panic. Instead, they calmly walked back to the truck, got in, and drove away. Within minutes, Liz's life was gone. The footage of that morning has been analyzed frame by investigators, journalists, and even armchair detectives online. It shows the truck circling the block. It shows the suspect approaching Liz. But it doesn't reveal who the killer was. The clothing masked the person's identity. Their stride gave away little about their gender or build. Even the truck, a black Nissan Frontier, was far too common. Thousands of identical vehicles drive the streets of Texas. This raised questions among people in the community. Did Liz know the killer? Why did she appear to speak to them before the shots? Was this a crime of passion or a targeted execution? Harris County investigators immediately began piecing together Liz's life. They spoke to her husband, her friends, her family, her co-workers. As in most homicide cases, Liz's husband Sergio was questioned first. He had left for work early that morning, providing him an alibi. He cooperated fully with detectives, even taking and passing a polygraph test. Investigators cleared him as a suspect. Detectives then explored other possibilities. Could this have been a robbery? Unlikely. Nothing was taken. Could it have been random? Again, unlikely. The suspect seemed purposeful, almost as if they knew Liz's schedule that morning. Could it have been personal? That question has haunted the case ever since. Detectives pursued leads, examined Liz's personal and professional life, and followed up on dozens of tips. But the trail kept going cold. Former Harris County homicide detective Michael Ritchie, the original lead investigator on the case, has spoken about the difficulties of the investigation. In his words, this case felt targeted. The calmness of the shooter, the timing, the way the truck circled first before approaching. Everything suggested planning, not randomness. But who would want Liz dead? That remains the central mystery. Ritchie also revealed that investigators had to sort through red herrings, false leads, misleading tips, and online speculation that often distracted from the core investigation. Despite years of effort, the suspect has never been identified. Several factors keep this case unsolved. The disguise worn by the killer, the common type of vehicle, the lack of DNA or forensic evidence left at the scene, the absence of a clear motive. But perhaps the biggest reason is silence. Someone out there knows who killed Liz, but they haven't come forward. Liz Barraza's family has lived with this nightmare for more than 4 years. Every day without answers is another day of pain and uncertainty. Her story deserves to be told. Her killer must be brought to justice. If you have any information, no matter how small, please contact Crime Stoppers of Houston. You can remain anonymous, and your tip could be the one that finally breaks this case. The murder of Liz Barraza is a reminder that even in broad daylight, in quiet suburban neighborhoods, darkness can strike. But this story isn't over. In our Part 2 interview with former Detective Michael Ritchie, we dive even deeper into his personal theories, the suspect that were investigated, and why public pressure is essential to solving this case. Subscribe, stay with us, and help us keep Liz's story alive. Because justice delayed doesn't have to mean justice denied.